that's great. Great background story. But it makes me smile to think about just the process and dialogue of trying to understand, how do we do this? How do we start reducing costs? The decision to on finance seems to be such a big one to me, as well as the idea of sweat equity and partnership in that way. And then you add volunteers and donations as well to get to as affordable a house as you can possibly do.
That's, yeah. Volunteers are a big part of it. That you know, a lot of those, how do you remember, Dorothy, all of the folks coming into town?
Yes.
Over and over, we'd have these big groups of people coming and have these big festive events to help get these houses built. And we say that the houses we build are stronger than most because our volunteers really don't know what they're doing. And so if it calls for 2 nails, they'll put in 6. The houses, just by the weight of the metal in the houses, will never blow away.
Yeah, that was really interesting in meeting all the people who came from all across the United States and the world to help build. And when I think about it, I'm thinking about when I came up from Katrina and just trying to decide, my husband and I, are we going back to New Orleans? Of course, he wanted to turn around the next day and go back. But me, because we were in the Superdome for a week, I wasn't ready for anything but give me a doctor because I'm not right now. So, but just to me, no, really, I mean, it really took a toll on me. And plus I had 3 grandchildren with me, a daughter who was shipped from the Superdome and taken to Houston because after the power went out, she had a bad asthma attack. So I had 3 kids, 1 in a wheelchair. So we stayed in that Superdome from Sunday to Thursday. When Thursday came, I'm thinking we getting ready to get helicoptered out of New Orleans, but we only went to the airport to stay 2 more days. But as I got here and start hearing about Fuller Center and Millard Fuller, America's Georgia, and community, well, it wasn't community renewal at the time. I can't remember what it was called then, but how they were building houses for Hurricane Katrina evacuees. So I came over and, to see what it was about and to see all the people who have come to help. That is beautiful. I mean, everybody just came in and just poured their heart into helping build homes. And what I liked about once I got qualified for our home is that to build, so I learned some things about building and I'm still doing some things. So my husband was out at several different jobs, but I would come over and do the sweat equity, of course. And again, like I say, I really enjoy meeting the people from everywhere. And as a matter of fact, a couple of those people I still get a card from every year. So that is really awesome. But the biggest challenge for me was I was asked the question, why do you want to move to Allendale? So I remember Allendale way back in the day before I left here, how it wasn't full of crime then, but they were saying, why would you move to Allendale? It's raggedy, it's full of crime and drugs. And I just kind of thought to myself, I said, well, when I looked and they had taken down Jackson Heights, I said, well, they don't live over here anymore. I said, they're in your neighborhood now. I said, so, no, really, they had dispersed them. They were gone. So again, like I say, I just put in my sweat equity and I chose the place where I lived because I always tell Kim and some of them this story about I wanted to be the light on the hill. So my house kind of sits on a hill. And David, of course, I didn't know what I was talking about then, because the position I am in as president of Allendale Strong, not knowing, what was going to happen, and I didn't put those words in my mouth as I think about. I know that the Holy Spirit put those words in my mouth, because I would never want to do what I'm doing now. But you said something earlier. God qualifies the call, but he does not call the qualified. So I am grateful. I am blessed to be in the position where I am, because now it helps me to define my purpose, why I'm here, and what I'm doing to fight for my neighborhood, my community, to help keep it going. That's my purpose. So he qualified the call. Yes, Dorothy, you will be the light on the hill, because sometime, David, I'll pull up in the driveway and I'll say, I said, God, I don't want to be the light on the hill anymore.
I understand that.
Look, this is what's so interesting. Every time I think that he has Aaron and her to hold up my tired arms, or the last time I pulled up in the driveway, this pastor called me and said he wanted to be a part of Allendale Strong. And I had just told God, I don't want to be the light on the hill anymore. And this pastor calls and I said, oh, I said, you're the ram in the bush. He says, what? I said, you're the ram in the bush. I said, every time I get tired, I said, the Lord sends someone. But I am so grateful. Thank you, David, for just taking the vision that you and Millard Fuller had to come from Americus, Georgia to Shreveport to start building homes for people first who were evacuated from Hurricane Katrina, then opening up first-time home ownership for those people in Shreveport. We have a beautiful community. And just like you said, when you came, you seen how Allendale was. It was dilapidated, full of drugs, crime, and of course, our Miss Rosie said she prayed for God to send someone, to help with this community. Look, I know one thing, prayer works. It's worked for me and it worked for Miss Rosie, because the drug addicts who put her out her garden started helping her with the garden and building up. So I'm speaking on behalf of Allendale and Allendale Strong. We are grateful for the work that is being done and that's continually being done, because we are a learning and doing community. I have learned so much, but there's a lot to still learn about what we're going through. But again, God qualifies the call. So I'm walking in his purpose. I'm not afraid. I'm courageous. I don't have fear of what people say or think. I'm obedient because I'm listening for what the Spirit is saying to me. And even though I stand true, but sometimes my faith wavers, but this is the one thing that I do know, that God is faithful to do what he said he was going to do. And that's why I can stand true.
Well, I'll tell you, the community is fortunate that you are willing to continue to be the light on the hill. Because it takes, leaders don't just happen. And God helps bring them forward. But there has to be the right attitude and the right spirit. And I think that getting discouraged is a healthy part of the whole process. We can't always just float along on the giddiness of, oh my goodness, look what's happening. We need to have that downtime to remind us when we get back to the good, that, wait, this is good. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So God bless you for that. And I'm just so proud. I'll tell you, it just breaks our heart to think that these fools might try to do damage in Allendale. And your willingness to stand up against them is a bravery and courageous and necessary. So God bless you.
Thank you so much. And again, you know what? I always give Kim kudos. My hat's off to him, because you know what? Sometimes after I don't know where to turn, I turn to Kim. Kim, I said, I don't know if, he said, Dorothy, if you need to take a break, take a break. But again, just like I say, God always have that ram in the bush, or that Aaron and that herd for me. So that's how I know that I'm walking in what I'm supposed to be doing.
But you're lucky. Every now and then in life, you run across somebody that's just sort of stable and calm and steady in the boat, and that's what Kim has always represented to me, that calm strength, and that we'll get through it. So you're fortunate to have him as a cohort.
Well, it's a blessing for me to just be a part of, David, to see this community through Dorothy's leadership grow to just, Dorothy's found a lot of rams in the bush. It's like they show up all the time.
They do.
And as that happens, the capacity of the Allendale residents really grows. I mean, they're growing in a way that they can take the leadership role in renewing the whole neighborhood, which our city desperately needs, because it's not going to happen top down from our government. It's going to happen through the efforts of citizens.
And a crisis like this helps, brings out those skills that we didn't know we had, and brings the community together in ways that we didn't know that it could come together. So if it all comes out the way it should, it'll turn out to have been a blessing.
It will. We can't predict. And David, I was thinking as Dorothy's talking that the listeners probably should know Dorothy is coming to us from inside of her home on Clay Street, a Fuller Center home. And if it's okay, Dorothy, you'll have to tell me later, but Dorothy and her husband, Charles, are nearing the end of their mortgage.
Yes.
Right.
So which is just such a blessing.
Yes, it is.
And there was something I took away from the tattered passport, David, which amazed me about you and your openness to new ideas and I'll call them innovations around the world, and just guiding. But you seem to have such a great instinct for where's the line. I can't permit everything. Not everything is going to fit with what we're doing as a good idea. But it was evident to me that you are wide open to innovations that can occur through the work of Fuller Center, and great examples in your book about that. But I think of my own experience with you and Fuller Center when we were getting involved in the planning and trying to really, in a sense, push Fuller Center to make the homes not all look alike, in the sense that we want this investment of Fuller Center to leverage so that we've got the diversity of a normal neighborhood. And, even allowing our firm to jump in and say, well, I know the goal is volunteer-friendly construction, but that's not necessarily producing the kind of house that will, so could we push you on that a bit? And so we did some planning, some different floor plans, trying to see what we might do. And even on the exterior saying, well, what could we do different details? We want more front porch orientation. The neighborhood was built with alleys, so let's try to use the alleys, which is not the easiest thing to do, but the results on Clay Street are pretty remarkable. And you built the first, maybe the first time y'all took on building row houses, to put 4 houses together, which I was real excited about, but it couldn't have been a worse site. It was the most steeply sloped site that we could imagine, try to put row housing. But I remember your comments telling me it was still cheaper than building the standalone homes. and which was a good thing to know. But what it produced on that street was houses that are closer to the street. There's no driveways, so there is a front porch orientation. You get the diversity of scale since you have some 4-row houses and then single family detached. And so I was pleased when the volunteers embraced some of the challenge of could we do a little bit better in color schemes, and so your volunteers came up with, yeah, well, we're going to design this emblem that fits on the gable end of a house. And we're going to design it ourselves based upon our volunteer group that comes in. So some of those houses have a signature of the volunteers, which is really cool. And it's as though this really sits as an example that we should be doing more of as a way to improve home ownership. And then thinking, well, how do we leverage that kind of investment to attract other builders and other initiatives so we can get a mixture of incomes and life.
Yeah. We actually appreciated all that prodding. We might have not acted like it, but it did make for a better neighborhood. We call those that lower part of the hill that's our San Francisco look with those row houses climbing up the hill. And I remember that wall we built to keep the Friendship House from falling down on us. That was quite an undertaking. It was nonstop events, and but I'll tell you, the volunteer piece was just a huge part of it, and that's where Millard Schoen was motivating those folks to come out. But I still hear from them. You know, how are things now and then? What's happened now and then? So they have an investment. And the thing about the volunteers is when they go home, they take more with them than they left behind. We tell folks, if you're coming on this thing just to help folks out, you got the wrong attitude. If you're coming to learn and to experience and to have some relationships, then you're going to have a good time. And the ones that do walk away feeling blessed for the opportunity to be a part of it, and want to come back, and they do come back. So, but doing it smart and doing it, Kim, you're absolutely on point with that. We spent a lot of time sitting in your office looking at designs, and I think it greatly enhanced the neighborhood.